Demon Slayer. Some regard it as a modern classic, a masterpiece that stands out among anime for its incredible animated fights, colorful action, and profound soundtrack, while others criticize the show for being safe, having shallow and simple characters, and lacking much world building. To be honest, I think both these takes are pretty grounded in reality to some degree, and have support to back them up. And I'll get into that, but first I have to say, Demon Slayer is no doubt one of the most successful and popular animes right now. It's firmly planted itself in the mainstream of anime, and has been received overwhelmingly well. But with success comes two other things: diehard fans and criticism from people who don't resonate or enjoy the series as much as the mainstream. To me, Demon Slayer has quickly become quite a divisive show within the anime community, and I want to explore why that is, and why people who rate it highly or say it's overrated are not necessarily wrong in doing so. I suppose it makes more sense to talk about the people who put down Demon Slayer and criticize it. I've heard many people say Demon Slayer is quite simply overrated, and the show lacks the necessary depth in characters and world to be a 10 out of 10 show. While I do think there are real criticisms of the characters you can make when comparing them to other series that are much longer, I think people using this to beat down Demon Slayer are missing the point of the show. Demon Slayer does not have the best characters, but they are more than sufficient to complement the more important points of the show. For Demon Slayer, the action is the top priority, which is why so much work is put into making the animation, color, and music the strongest parts of the show, while keeping characters more on the simple side, and opting to have the setting be in Japan's Taisho period instead of its own fantasy world. The show aims to be short and impactful, setting its focus on keeping you excited with its action and pulling on your heartstrings with emotional backstories of tragedy. This method of making a series has proven to be overwhelmingly successful, although I absolutely recognize that it won't resonate with every viewer. I actually think Demon Slayer stands out more for being a shorter series, and a lot of its strong points are made more prevalent by not having to worry about things like world building, and only having a handful of characters with a focus solely on their development and progression in the series. I mean, how often do we see a show fumble or fall off towards the end of their respective series? I love Naruto, but I was not a huge fan of the war arc, and we can often see some series take a big dip in quality at some point in their run. A lot of people drop Bleach at Soul Society, One Piece arcs are often up and down in quality, and right now people are divided on My Hero's war arc. I'm not saying Demon Slayer is better than these anime, but it's more consistent with every arc being close to each other in terms of quality, eventually peaking in the Infinity Castle arc, and then finishing the story and arc after that. Even when you look at pretty much every arc individually in Demon Slayer, they introduce the setting, establish the plot of the arc, before developing it further with backstory. Then after that, they build up to the climax of the arc, which is a fight or fights with the demon before usually revealing the demon's tragic backstory and ending the arc with some kind of conclusion. Demon Slayer is very formulaic in this storytelling, and while it may be predictable, it's still very enjoyable, because the series focuses on flashy action rather than deep, suspenseful storytelling. That doesn't make it a bad series, or a lesser series at that. It just means that, like most things in life, it's gonna appeal to different people and resonate on different levels depending on the taste of the person watching it. Demon Slayer sets out to make some of the show's elements superb, while toning down other parts of the show to not compete with the strong points. I don't want to delegitimize Demon Slayer critics by just saying that they are contrarians who hate anything popular. I understand Demon Slayer isn't going to have a big emotional impact on everyone, nor is it going to have deep themes that leave you thinking about the plot and unmasking your feelings on the series. Demon Slayer is always going to be a visual joy first and foremost, whether it's the incredible and colorful fights and breathing styles elevating those fights, or the dark and eerie scenes that are the setting for the majority of the story. A big point of contention when discussing Demon Slayer are the characters. A lot of people point to Demon Slayer characters as being simple and safe, lacking development, and I tend to agree with them for the most part. Demon Slayer characters are first and foremost designed to be liked, and this is most true with the protagonist Tanjiro. I think Tanjiro started the series off great. He has a good backstory, a good goal, and visually he looks cool. The problem I have with Tanjiro is that he's always presented as a good guy, a kind person who can do no wrong. I think Demon Slayer tries too hard to make Tanjiro likable, and as the series goes on, his unrealistic way of interacting with the characters around him makes him impossible to relate to. I would go as far to say that Tanjiro has character regression throughout the series, because where I like that he spends 6 months training at the start of the series just to become an entry-level Demon Slayer, after the second season of the anime, when Tanjiro's supporting characters of Zenitsu and Inosuke temporarily depart from the story, it falls on Tanjiro to take over the comic relief in the first half of the third season. This is terrible. The way Zenitsu and Inosuke's eccentric humor is replaced by artificially amping up Tanjiro's "I'm a nice guy" trope to be funny is a major fail. Tanjiro has minimal growth throughout the series, and I couldn't help myself of liking him less and less as the series went on. Of course, Tanjiro is not the only character, and I honestly don't mind the supporting cast too much. Obviously, not everyone is going to like every character, but my only real complaint with the extended cast is, if anything, they are slightly underdeveloped. Rarely anything will ever happen without Tanjiro being present. Going back to the point of Demon Slayer neglecting world building, I mentioned earlier that the length of Demon Slayer compared to other shonen series is a positive, and that makes it stand out. And what I mean by that is that Demon Slayer wastes very little time building up the story, so they can focus on the simplistic action of killing demons and making it look as cool as possible without dragging it out too long. Demon Slayer is a series that requires very little investment to get into. It takes no time to understand the characters, setting, and premise of the story. And the drawback of this is that people are less likely to obsess over the series, but it makes it very accessible to a wide audience. I mean, look at how well the Demon Slayer movie performed. The ability for Demon Slayer to reach and satisfy a wide audience is not in doubt. Taste will always play a major role in how we perceive anime. Shows can objectively do a stellar job in one aspect, but we as viewers will often perceive a story differently, and our own personal opinions will always be a major factor in deciding if we like something. I think Demon Slayer accomplishes what it sets out to do, which is to provide incredible action with a focus on visuals. This of course doesn't mean Demon Slayer is above criticism because it looks good, but I would like to see people go into depth on what they dislike about Demon Slayer, rather than simply state something simple like Demon Slayer has shallow characters or lacks world building, as it misses the point of Demon Slayer's method in providing an exciting viewing experience. I think Demon Slayer is a superb show, and some of its strongest components, like its visual action and soundtrack, are some of the best we have in anime at this moment in time. I don't think that makes Demon Slayer an undisputed masterpiece. It's a good show that lacks just about as much as it has going for it, but these shortcomings don't stop Demon Slayer from being an enjoyable and successful anime series. And that brings us to the end of my video. I really don't think Demon Slayer should be divisive. I think it's something just about anyone can enjoy. Some people just can't help putting it on a pedestal, while others can't help nitpicking every possible shortcoming it has. But hey, what do you guys think about Demon Slayer?